So we're going to talk about S.25, and that talks about parallel lines, perpendicular, and does it have to be one or the other? It could be neither. So let's see what we're talking about. So we've actually talked about parallel lines. Parallel lines are where graphs do not intersect. There is no solution, no meow. So that is when the slopes are the same, and the word for that, besides inconsistent, is also parallel. So I'm going to ask that you write that in your notes. This is on page 55, line 16. Parallel. And parallel lines are where the graphs do not intersect. They look like this and they have the same slope. Okay, so we've talked about this one already. So we're going to go now to page 58. So please go to page 58. And so I'm going to have you fold it as a burrito. And so now we have 3 sections, and we're talking about parallel lines, perpendicular lines, and if they're not either one of them, then we consider that neither. Now, if they are parallel, what that means is the lines do not intersect, and how we know that they don't intersect is because the slopes, they have the exact same slope. The exact same slope. So, for example, if your slope is 1/2, then the slope parallel to it will be the exact same, 1/2. Then, what if we're given an equation, which you will be given an equation on IXL. If I find my pen. So let's just say the equation is y equals 3/7 plus 8, y equals 3/7 plus 9. Okay, the one with x is your slope. So this one right here has the x, this one right here has the x, so they would have the same slope. So that would mean those lines are parallel. Now, perpendicular is not the same thing. Perpendicular is different. Perpendicular, what you have to do is you have to do 2 things to get the slope of perpendicular lines. One, you have to change the sign. And you also have to flip, or what we call reciprocal. Okay, that means you flip the fraction. So let's do an example. Let's say that your slope is positive 4/7. The one perpendicular, and perpendicular we do an upside down T, would be that you would flip this and change the sign. So this one's positive, so this slope of the perpendicular line would be negative, and then you'd flip it. So the 7 would now be the numerator, and 4 would be the denominator. Okay, so let's do another example. Let's say that they tell you that your equation is y equals -1/7 x plus 5. Then the slope of the perpendicular line would be, you'd change the sign, so it's negative. Here it would be positive 7/1. Alright? Now, neither is where it's not the exact same slope, and it isn't flipped, and it isn't, they don't change the sign to it. So let's do another example. So for example, let's say that it is -3/5. Okay? If it was parallel, it would be the exact same thing. Now, when it's perpendicular, you change the sign, so it wouldn't be negative anymore, it would be positive, and then you would flip this. So the one perpendicular to it would be, now the 5 would be the numerator, and 3 would be the denominator. Alright? That would be the slope of the perpendicular line. So we're going to do S.25, and I'll do a couple problems with you. So here, the slope is -4/9, -4/9, and here it's positive. So I can see they changed the sign and they flipped this. The 4 is now the denominator, and the 9 is now the numerator. So that's perpendicular. Here they say perpendicular, so it's negative. That means I change the sign to positive 8/5 because I flip that fraction. Here they want it parallel, so it's the exact same thing. If the slope is negative 3 over 2, then the slope here is also negative 3 over 2. Here I can see the slopes are the exact same, so that would be parallel. Here they're perpendicular, so I flip it and I change the sign. Here it's negative, so this one has to be positive 6 over 7. Here it's the one, remember slope is the one with squiggly, and here I can see it's 3 over 7. Here it's negative 3 over 7. They changed the sign, but they did not flip it, so that would be neither, because they didn't do both things. Here it's perpendicular, so I flip it, so it's going to be now positive 3 over 8.